Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, council, staff, and the general public. Welcome to our public meeting of April the 19th. I will open the public meeting. Do I need a mover and seconder for that, Joanne? Sorry. Yes, thank you. So can I have somebody move in second, please? Moved by Councillor McDonnell, second by Councillor Lang. All in favor of the motion? The motion's carried. I can have an approval of the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda? Not seeing none. If I can have somebody move and second the agenda, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Warden, second by Councillor McDonnell. All in favor? Motion is carried. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Not seeing none. We'll move right into presentation and delegations. Notice of public meeting April 19th, 2021. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to start my presentation. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our public meeting this evening. For members of the public that are participating by Zoom or by phone, you'll be permitted to speak to your respective application following my presentation. Prior to speaking, please state your name and address for the record. To make a comment, please use the raise hand function and the chair will call on you. If you have registered to participate in the meeting by phone to speak to this application, you will be asked if you would like to comment on the application after the presentation. So now I have to read formal wording that's required to be read under the Ontario Planning Act. This is a hearing under Section 34 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend this hearing and or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral or written submissions at this hearing before the zoning amendment is decided upon, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Township of South Glengarry to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, also known as LPAT. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a hearing or make written submissions to the township before the zoning amendment is decided upon, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the LPAT unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. So we have one public meeting this evening known as the Bruning Zoning Amendment. This application is for a property that's described as part of lots 2 and 3, registered plan number 26, in the geographic village of Lancaster, which is in South Glengarry, and also known as 8 South Terrace Street. This is an aerial view of the subject property. I'll just try and orient everyone who's watching. So this is County Road or Old Military Road, County Road 34, and in this location. This is the South Glengarry restaurant here, the railroad tracks here, and this is the former Berrigan's pub, I think most of us would remember. And the subject property is located here in the darkened area. So we have a few photos for you to share. This would be kind of a side view or an angled view of the property. And looking at this, I'd be facing southeast. This is the backyard of the Berrigans and Walter McDougall Trucking. And then here's a front view where we're facing south. You can see that's the roof of the municipal office. And so this is a vacant parcel, and it's been vacant for many, many years. Well, forever in South Glengarry. So it'd be nice to see some development on this property. So the purpose of the amendment this evening is to rezone the subject property from residential 2 to residential 3, exception 5, to permit the development of a 6-unit townhouse with a reduced yard setback from 6 meters to 1.2 meters only in the southeast corner of the townhouse. So the subject property is in a irregular shape. You may recall that it had a section of the property removed from it. The approximate total area of the property is 0.24 of an acre in size. It can be proposed by municipal water and sewer. And because 6 units are being proposed, we can provide 6 connections to the property. Currently, there's already 3 connections existing on that site that were previously paid for and installed. The access to the proposed development will be off of South Terrace Street, as well as through the abutting property by way of a registered easement. And I'll explain that in the next couple of slides. This is a front elevation of the property. So you'll see that there's 3 doors. And it's really difficult to see on this screen, but basically when you enter a door, you'll go up part way for your main level, and then you'll go down part way for the second unit in the basement. So each door will contain 2 units. This is a site plan, and these aren't approved by any means, but this will show you how the property is going to be laid out if it's approved. So again, these 3 doors are located at the front facing South Terrace Street. 1 parking space would be allocated at the front for each unit. And then you can see that there's additional parking that's available at the back of the building that will meet the parking requirements, both for guest parking as well as for the parking requirements for each unit. This is the section of the property that was previously removed. And luckily, a right-of-way was established and maintained from here over this property, which will allow them to drive onto their property, traverse this section to access the rear parking, which really enables the development and the parking to work quite nicely. So the subject property is currently designated residential district in the county official plan and is located in the urban settlement area of Lancaster. It does conform to the official plan. And this decision or this zoning amendment application will be subject to a decision of council. It is intended to bring it in the near future, the next meeting if possible. And if the amendment is approved, the proposed development will be subject to site plan control. And at that time, then we can deal with grading, drainage, final locations of the structure, as well as the parking and any landscaping that will be required as well. And it will be subject to a building permit also if approved. So we request that all public comments be received by Friday, April 23rd, which is this coming Friday at 4 p.m. And that's all I have for you this evening. I do know that the owner applicant was going to be attending the meeting this evening. If there was any specific questions regarding the development or the construction of the development, they are prepared to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Haley. I'll open up to members of council if there's any questions. Deputy Mayor Warden.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Haley, I have a couple questions for you. First, I'm just curious to know why there's a site plan control needed on this this residential lot. It's not something we normally hear of for residential development. That's my first question. And the second question would be, was there, you had stated that there was 3 connections on the property. The zoning for this property is R2, which doesn't permit 3 units. I'm just curious, was that something that was permitted in the past that didn't conform to the zoning?
Okay, thank you for your questions to you, Mr. Mayor. So your first question in regards to site plan control, you may recall that our site plan control bylaw 17 that was approved in 2018 is subject to, requires all multi-residential properties to be subject to site plan control. So I can give you some examples of ones that have gone through that just to trigger your memory, because I know you'll remember. We have the 4 unit in Glen Walter. We have the 6 unit that was recently constructed in Lancaster that's not quite finished yet. And then we have also in Glen Walter that are currently under construction, 2 3 units. So anything multi-res over 2 units triggers that. And site plan control is kind of important to make sure we can get the parking to work, grading, drainage, separation distances to other residential properties, things like that. As for your second question, you'll find in the Lancaster Village, previous owners paid for laterals to be installed at the time municipal water and sewer were brought into the village in anticipation that they would sever the lots or that they would have multi-residential. So in 2009, when we did our amalgamated zoning bylaw, we brought that into an R2 zone, not knowing there was 3 units already on there. So that's a positive thing for the developer that they exist. And it just means now the zoning allows them to take advantage of it if it's approved.
Perfect. I apologize on the first question.
Oh, don't worry.
On those Glen Walter lots, there was a lot of minor variances and stuff. Yes. So obviously I got that mixed up with site plan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions from members of council? Not seeing none. No, we have one individual on as an attendees. Is it Mr. Bruni? Is it Joanne, is that who's on? Will?
I believe Will Bruning is attending on behalf of, or he's
Bruning.
part owner of the property.
Okay, thank you. Will, did you have any questions or comments for council?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Warden.
Just a further comment. I think that this development is going to be really good for the village of Lancaster. I get calls on a weekly basis for people looking for rental properties. So I think this is going to be a really good benefit for the village.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been an empty, like Mrs. Haley said, it's been an empty area for a long time. So it'd be nice to see it filled in, and it's a perfect building and opportunity to fill in that lot. So if there's no other questions, I guess I will ask for an adjournment. If I can have somebody move in second, please. Moved by Councillor Lang, second by Councillor McDonnell. All in favor of the motion? The motion is carried. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Will, and thank you, Mrs.